Love of Cenobite leader Pinhead, Merkova. Merkova is a haunting and powerful figure in the Hellraiser comic universe, known for her brutal strength, twisted beauty, and rare emotional depth. As a cenobite and the lover of Pinhead, she stands out among Hell's most fearsome beings, not just for her terrifying appearance, but for the forbidden love she shares with the High Priest of Hell. Her story unfolds during a violent conflict between the Cenobites and the Harrowers, a group of mortals seeking to free the goddess Morte Mamme. Leading the luckysix into battle, Merkova's journey is one of war, sacrifice, vengeance, and a tragic end that echoes through Hell. Merkova, the war-bound consort of Hell. Merkova is a powerful and enigmatic cenobite who appears prominently in the Hellraiser comic series, particularly in story arcs that center around the Harrowers, the human resistance sworn to challenge Leviathan's rule and liberate lost souls from damnation. A unique figure among the Order of the Gash, Merkova is not only a formidable entity in her own right, but also stands apart for her deeply personal connection with the High Priest of Hell himself, Pinhead. Their bond, though seldom spoken of aloud, is one of the rare emotional anomalies found in the cold, pain-worshipping hierarchy of Hell. As depicted throughout the comics, their relationship transcends the usual confines of cenobite detachment. They share a genuine, if twisted, affection forged in agony and eternity. Merkova made her most iconic appearance during the catastrophic events surrounding the resurrection of Morte Mamme, the ancient goddess of death and decay. When the celestial puzzle chamber was solved by a being known only as the General, it acted as a beacon, summoning 6 elite cenobites, later dubbed the luckysix, who were hand-selected to crush the Harrowers before they could complete their heretical mission. Merkova led this squadron with unquestioned authority, her presence commanding respect even among her fearsome comrades, Turpus, the bloated butcher, Halolades, whose limbs were spinning halos of sharpened razors, Cattleskull, a masked titan adorned in bovine bone, Fulgur, stitched with wires of living electricity, and Cowboy, a gunslinging sadist with revolvers forged from bone and brass. The luckysix made their descent into the mortal realm at the Egg Museum, an eerie sight that had become a nexus of otherworldly energies. Unfortunately for them, the Harrowers had already completed their ritual, freeing Morte Mamme from her celestial prison. With the goddess of death once again walking among mortals, the Harrowers had been transformed, granted divine tools, and celestial allies to aid them in their crusade. Among these allies was Zinc, a seemingly innocent pet cat, gifted with a spiritual link to Winston Gage, one of the core Harrowers. When Zinc approached Merkova with feline curiosity, the cenobite coldly lifted the creature in her hand, threatening to snap its spine. But this would prove her undoing. Winston Gage, seeing through Zinc's eyes via a psychic bond, teleported into Zinc's place, catching Merkova completely off guard. In one swift, divine strike, he brought down his radiant axe, severing both of Merkova's arms. The act was not just brutal, it was symbolic, a blow to the pride and fearsome stature of the Cenobites. The rest of the Harrowers quickly joined the fray, and what followed was an apocalyptic clash between mortal champions and Hell's finest. Morte Mamme, ever the manipulator, introduced a grotesque creature named Ovid, a flatulent, malformed homunculus, whose primary function was not warfare but distraction. Ovid's foul emissions clouded the battlefield, dazing the Cenobites with noxious fumes. All save Merkova were caught in the miasma. Taking advantage of the confusion, twin sisters Lucinda and Lavinia, now imbued with the divine gift of duplication, ensnared the incapacitated Cenobites, using a sacred rope forged in the realms beyond time. With tactical precision, the Harrowers dismantled the luckysix, tearing their bodies apart in gory victory. Only Merkova remained standing, wounded, armless, but seething with wrath and pride. In one last act of desperate defiance, Merkova lunged forward and impaled herself upon Marty Sevenbird's divine longsword, but not before seizing one of the Harrowers, Bunny Benedict, as a living trophy. She vanished in a blur of dark energy, retreating back into the deepest pits of Hell. Her body was a ruin, leaking ichor and divine flame. In the nether realms, Pinhead found her collapsed near a labyrinthine altar, barely conscious, the sword of her enemy still lodged deep in her abdomen. Wordless, with uncharacteristic tenderness, he cradled her broken form and withdrew the blade, a final mercy, or perhaps a final cruelty. She died in his arms, whispering words known only to them. Pinhead did not wail or scream. Instead, he stood and swore vengeance with the fury of Hell behind him. Declaring that the Harrowers would suffer for their insolence, he took Bunny Benedict into the torture chambers of Leviathan's great labyrinth, where he subjected the Harrower to unspeakable horrors in honor of Merkova's memory. Physical appearance and cenobitic traits. Merkova's appearance is one of the most animalistic and nightmarish among the cenobites. A skeletal horse's snout is stitched grotesquely onto the front of her face, transforming her visage into something that is neither human nor beast. Her lower legs have been surgically removed and replaced with the digitigrade limbs of a horse, giving her a disturbing, predatory gait. Strips of horsehair grow from her arms and hang from her belt, possibly taken from the remains of sacrificial beasts offered in her name. Unusually for a cenobite, she retains a strip of hair styled into a sharp mohawk that drapes dramatically down her back, a trace of individuality she refused to surrender, even in death. Her standard black leather garb, in keeping with the Order's BDSM-inspired aesthetic, is far more revealing than that of her peers, exposing lacerated flesh and rune-marked skin as an offering to the pleasures of pain and suffering. Merkova stands among a rare class of cenobites who have experienced love, twisted and violent though it may be. Others in this enigmatic group include the female cenobite, who once shared dark intimacy with Pinhead, Alastair and Chalkies, whose tormented bond was forged in the fires of damnation, and the sculptress and her tender companion, known only as My Sweet. These cenobitic pairings serve as eerie echoes of human affection, corrupted through the lens of Leviathan's unfeeling doctrine. Though Merkova's tale ends in tragedy, her legacy in the Hellraiser mythos remains intact: a fearsome warrior, a devoted lover, and a cenobite who dared to feel. She remains a haunting symbol of what is lost when desire and devotion are devoured by the very engine of torment they once served. Creeper's thoughts. Merkova's story within the Hellraiser comic mythos is one of tragedy, power, and forbidden devotion. As a cenobite, she embodied the terrifying beauty of pain and transformation, her monstrous appearance reflecting the torment she both inflicted and endured. Yet beneath her grotesque exterior and role as a tormentor, Merkova stood apart in one crucial way: she felt love. Her deep, unspoken bond with Pinhead challenged the very nature of what it meant to be a servant of Leviathan, hinting that even in the darkest corners of hell, echoes of human emotion still flicker. Her role as leader of the luckysix and her fierce stand against the Harrowers displayed not only her martial prowess, but also her pride and unwavering loyalty to the cause of hell. Even when disarmed and dying, she refused to surrender, choosing instead to abduct Bunny Benedict and return to hell, leaving behind a battlefield soaked in blood and divine fire. Her final moments with Pinhead were quietly devastating. Stripped of grandeur, they revealed a rare vulnerability between beings otherwise defined by cruelty and control. Merkova's death marked more than the fall of a powerful cenobite. It symbolized a fracture in Hell's cold logic. Pinhead's grief and rage at her loss drove him to new levels of vengeance, showing that even the High Priest of Hell was not immune to sorrow. In the end, Merkova's existence challenged the rigid doctrine of Leviathan, proving that even those shaped by endless suffering are capable of connection. Her story remains a haunting chapter in the Hellraiser saga, a blend of horror and heartbreak that lingers far beyond the page. Merkova may have died in hell, but her memory burns like a divine scar across the infernal order she once served.